Ever wonder what happens when animals get rescued from poachers before it's too late? Like, the poachers get in trouble, that's totally illegal, but what about the animals? This just happened in a park in Argentina where rangers caught a couple of guys with 23 armadillos tied up in sacks on the back of their motorcycles. Whenever live animals are rescued, you might want to see them get released right away, and that's absolutely the right intent. But what really happens? We can't just let them go. How do we know if it would be safe? How do we know if they're prepared to survive in the wild again? So these poachers that were caught, they had 23 live armadillos all tied up in sacks hanging off the back of their motorcycles. When rangers caught up to them, they opened the bags and they found out that all of the animals were still alive. And they realized these weren't just any armadillos, these were special armadillos, a special kind of species called the three-banded armadillo. It's rare. It was a big deal, and our team was called in to help make the assessment of whether and when any of them could go back to the wild. So in this video, we'll see why these animals are at risk, what makes them so special, and how our team helped turn a crisis into a second chance for wildlife. This is the story of a wildlife rescue involving one of the world's most unique and threatened species. Most people focus on how poaching threatens the big iconic animals like elephants and rhinos, and it's easy to forget that smaller, lesser-known species like the three-banded armadillo are also being targeted and trafficked by poachers. Why? What makes these animals special? What would make poachers want to take the risk of trying to haul 23 of them out of a park to market? In some ways, they're a lot like other species of armadillos because they have those thick shells and strong claws that they use to go digging for ants and termites and things like that. But they're also the only kind of armadillo that doesn't dig a burrow for safety. Three-banded armadillos are the only kind of armadillo that roll up into a complete ball. When they get scared, and they roll up into that ball to protect themselves from natural predators like foxes or pumas, it may be an effective strategy. But it only makes it easier for poachers and hunters just to reach down and grab them. Now, it should be totally clear that local people are allowed to hunt these animals for subsistence. They often use dogs to track them, and when the dog catches up with one, it gets scared and it rolls into that ball, and then the hunter just reaches down to pick it up. And it's an important source of protein, as long as it's just one or a few at a time. But 23 in sacks on motorcycles is totally illegal. The populations are under serious threat. The IUCN lists the species as near threatened, meaning it's on the verge of becoming at risk of extinction. And they're at risk like this because they're being overhunted. They're being poached and taken out of the wild for sale in the pet trade. And they're losing a lot of habitat across their range. There's a lot of land being converted to soy and cattle plantations in Argentina, Paraguay, Bolivia, Brazil. A really big problem is that people want these animals as pets because they're adorable. They don't burrow, but they make really bad pets, and many of them die on their way to market. Park rangers are on the front lines of protection for wildlife. They're heroes in many ways. These rangers, Aquilio and Ezequiel, work for the provincial park Loro Hablador in the Chaco region of Argentina. The Chaco is this expansive wilderness. It's the second largest forest in South America behind the Amazon. It's also one of the most threatened habitats in the world. It has one of the highest deforestation rates of any place on the planet. When the rangers went after these men on motorcycles, they dropped 2 sacks full of these armadillos.
Aquí tenemos otro poco de animales, otros que contamos todavía. Están ahí adentro. Que son muchos animalitos.
These rangers' quick thinking might have helped saved many more lives than we could have expected in other situations just like this one. The rangers knew that a member of our team was working in the area, and that this member of the team happened to be a veterinarian with many years of experience working with wildlife. I recently posted another video about Ezequiel's wild trip to the Chaco. I'll post a link about that below. Thankfully, in this case, he had the opportunity to rush over and see if he could help. Now, we always want to see the animals get released into the wild as quickly as possible in situations like this, but we have to be sure that they're going to make it before we can. We could put them in even more danger if we rushed. If they're dehydrated or sick or injured, they'd be at risk of predators, and they could suffer. In this case, these animals' legs were tied together. They definitely had some minor injuries, and their legs could have even been broken. We had to check it out. Thankfully, they all appeared healthy enough. Every one of them would survive and could be released. The ranger here is explaining that the animals are going to be released on the park's trails, sort of in the center area where they can be hopefully protected from anything like this ever happening again. When they got released, some of them stayed in their stress balls, the poor things. They were just trying to protect themselves. This is a characteristic behavior of the species, though, and it's important to know that they're fine. Others took off sort of bounding into the woods, like, nope, 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 I'm getting out of here, I've had enough of this, I'm going back to nature. And that's great to see. So much of our team's work to advance the mission of conservation is tied to our commitment to slow, steady scientific progress, to help people out there make better decisions about how to balance the needs of people and nature. Every now and then, though, it feels really good to see a clear, direct intervention like this work out. One of the biggest ways that we can make a difference is just to have experts in the field where they're in a position to make a difference when it counts.